Hi, guys. I haven't decided yet if this is going to be Patreon only or for everyone. Or if I can put out half of it for everyone and then the other part for just Patreon. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. This week has me totally thrown for a loop. Everything feels off. I feel like even my microphone feels off. I don't know. So it's, let's say Wednesday. And so this is going to be a bonus and not a mini crime bonus, although I do have some mini crimes. That's going to be a thing. But because this week is already just totally kind of fucked, you know how when, and if you've never tried to lose weight or eat healthy or get fit, if that's never been something you've done in life and you can just eat whatever you want and live life, this will be lost on you. But when I'm like now trying really hard to eat healthfully and focusing on my weight and my exercise and my, all of it, whatever. I don't need to beat that dead horse. Trying to be healthy. If there's a day that I kind of fuck it up in the morning by having, I don't know, something unhealthy, in my mind, it's just kind of the day's gone then. This is a day we're going to write off as just unhealthy. And now I'm going to have kind of free reign to eat whatever I want the rest of the day because I already screwed it up in the morning. And I know that's actually a really terrible mindset. And that just because you eat one unhealthy meal doesn't mean you have to then, trash the whole day to Doritos and Cheetos and whatever. But often that's how it feels in my head. So that's how I'm treating this Labor Day week, which I'm sure will piss some people off because this show is just the most inconsistent ever. But look at me not apologizing for it. I'm just going to keep on going. I'm just going to fly by and say that, well, happy late Labor Day. I hope everyone had a fun and safe 3-day weekend. Let's see. My weekend.
Girl, you have got to try this Laneige lip mask. Trust me, my lips needed that love. Love these vanilla vibes from Kayali. That top note is just so smooth. Smooth and stunning. That's what you get with this K18 hair mask.
Those brands everybody's talking about, they're at Sephora. Discover the hype with the hottest names in beauty, including Laneige, Kayali, K18, and Rare Beauty. Click or tap the banner to discover the next big thing. Only at Sephora.
So I've talked about how I'm not really, I've really kind of stopped drinking. Not totally, but definitely never I don't drink during the week and then on the weekends minimally because I'm focusing on my health, which is so annoying to say over and over again. But this past weekend, that just went out the window. And Saturday during the day, I did a bit of work. So Friday night was just early to bed night. Saturday, I did a bit of work. And then Mark came over and we made tacos. And I don't know, but there was something in the air or something because the drinks were going down really easily. And before I knew it, we were just having a full-blown dance party in the kitchen with the dogs, and my healthy non-drinking went way out the window. So Sunday, and because I'm A, older, and B, not drinking that much these days, it really hit me. So Sunday was a wash of a day, a big lazy day. Watched TV, napped, just hung around with the dogs. Oh, you know what we did do though? We took the dogs, both dogs, to this dog park here at, if you live in Tucson, it's George Mell, I think was the name of the dog park. It's like a park with soccer fields and baseball diamonds and stuff. And then there's also a dog park in the park. It's at River and Pontotoc. And it's huge. My dad had told me about it. I haven't taken Henry to a dog park since we lived in Atlanta and when we did live in Atlanta and I lived in an apartment for a while after I got divorced, we went to right after I adopted him, we went to the dog park a lot because he was young and had a ton of energy, and an apartment I didn't have a backyard or anything. And it was a good way to like socialize him and see how he was with other dogs. And so we went to this dog park every single day right by the apartment where I was living, and he loved it. And he got along really well with most dogs. He was great with small dogs. Like he would just lay down on his side and let them kind of jump on him and stuff. And then with bigger dogs or dogs his own size, he was great, but he liked to play like rough. And, some owners are a little prissier. Well, that's an unfair judgment. They're more protective of their dog. And not that I don't want to protect my dogs, but I feel like, Henry's a big, strong dog, and he likes to play rough. And as long as he's not hurting anyone, I feel like we're at a dog park. That's expected. But there was one woman who had I think it's what are the hypoallergenic dogs? Like poop. I almost said cocker poodle. That's not it. A golden doodle or something like that. Really cute dog, about Henry's size, but just way less heavy. Like looked like a light dog that you could pick up, even though it was a bigger dog. Anyways, they were playing, and Henry was playing rough and kept kind of knocking the dog, and they would wrestle. And the woman came up to me, and I just remember because she was so angry. She was like, "Your dog plays too rough. You need to get him out of here." And I was like, "Okay, well, but your dog seems to be having fun. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to tell him to play less. Like, excuse me, Henry, can you please calm down, play a little bit less rough? Like, that's not going to work." Anyways, it was fine. It ended up being fine. But not too long after that incident, we were at the same dog park, and you kind of get to know people at a dog park if you go regularly. Obviously, for me, it's obvious. I never learned anybody's names. I just learned their dogs' names. Kind of like how I have labeled people on the morning walk now. Like there's like enthusiastic good morning guy, and there's guy with the big dog and no shirt, and there's runner guy with his, he runs with his kids. Henry's losing his mind outside. I'll be right back, guys. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Where was I? Oh yeah. That I like how I label people on the morning walk. I don't know their names, but I know them by their dogs mostly. I did the same thing with people at the dog park that I would see regularly there. And I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest. So anyways, we were at the dog park one day, and you can kind of just like tell when something's up at the dog. Everybody stands in like groups along the edges, and I could just tell there was kind of like something in the air. There was like a whisper going around. And so I walked up to one person there standing out, and I was like, "Do you know what's going on? Like everybody seems to be, I don't know, talking about something or off." And she said, "These people have their two," and I probably told this on the story, on the episode where I talked about like Henry's, how he came to be, like how I found him I didn't find him, but how I adopted him at the shelter and what his previous life was like. I know I've talked about that. So forgive me if this is a repeat, but I love pit bulls. My dog One of my first dogs when I was like an adult was Capone, who was a pit bull that I found here in Tucson. My dad currently has a pit bull, Butch, who's blind. So I don't subscribe to the, I don't want to say prejudice, but the feeling that pit bulls are bad dogs and fighting dogs and aggressive dogs and like that. I think that pit bulls are actually incredibly sweet, sensitive, smart dogs who just have the ability, like most dogs have the ability, to become an angry dog if they are raised poorly. I'm not going to get into like a whole preachy thing on that though. Anyways, I love pit bulls. So this is truly nothing against pit bulls, but I do think that there's such a stigma out there that really played a part in this, in that when I asked this woman at the dog park, like, what's going on? And she's like, well, this couple has you see those two pit bulls, those huge pit bulls. They have had problems with other dogs in the past and they're here and nobody wants them here. I was like, oh. And so immediately I'm like in my head rolling my eyes like, of course, these people just don't want a pit bull because they think the pit bull is going to like kill their dog, which truly like the pit bull is no more likely to attack their dog than any other dog. I mean, maybe more likely than like a Chihuahua, but I just hated that. So I instantly wrote it off like, okay, whatever. That doesn't bother me. And just as quickly as I was rolling my eyes at this woman and everyone else there, in my head, there was a commotion across the dog park. And I'm looking around, where's Henry? Where's Henry? And I run over to the commotion and see that Henry is in the center of it. And these two pit bulls have kind of charged him from either side. And they're not necessarily, it was admittedly a while ago. And, something like that where there's kind of some adrenaline and panic. It all happened so fast. I couldn't tell you exactly what was happening, but they were more than bothering, less than attacking Henry. And he was visibly like scared. And I just ran and I just immediately like scooped him, like put my arms underneath him and scooped him up and picked him up so that the dogs they were like nipping at him and carried him to like the little entrance area. You know how every dog park has a fenced in little area where you come in. So it's like a double fence. Anyways, and he was so scared and I was so scared because I didn't want him to get hurt. I also didn't want him to fight back and hurt another dog. So I just took him and we just left. And then we never went back because then I was initially just scared for him that he would be traumatized. And I rode horses like most of my life. I'm more familiar than ever with, you got to get back up on the horse. But I mean, everybody's familiar with that. You don't have to actually ride horses to understand that saying. That was stupid. But I don't know. I just never took him back. And then we eventually moved out of the apartment and rented a house with a backyard. And so there was no need. And he just never went back to a dog park ever. So, and the way that he behaves on walks or even in the car when he sees other dogs, it seems like he has this bark that seems like he's going to, it could be aggressive, but it's not. It's his excited bark. Like, I'm so excited. He barks at me like that when I'm making his dinner. Like, I'm so excited to eat. Or before we go on our morning walk, when I'm getting his leash, he barks like that. And it's like, he's so excited. And so when he sees other dogs, he does that same thing when we're on a walk or in the car. And, people understandably are like, oh, who the fuck, this fucking dog is going to attack my dog. They look at me like, control your dog. So, I don't know. This was a very long-winded way to say that Mark and I took Indiana and Henry to the dog park on Sunday morning because my dad just said it was so cool. I wanted to see it. And Indiana is so fast. And so when she runs, she gets like the zoomies in the backyard and runs around. She's crazy fast. I mean, she has caught multiple birds who could fly away. She's just quick. And so we wanted to see her in like a really big space be able to run. So we thought, okay, well, let's go. And we went at 5:30 on Sunday morning because I was nervous about how both of them would do, about how Henry would do with other dogs, about how Indiana's never been to a dog park. And the only dogs that she has ever met are Henry, Izzy, my dad's dog, Butch, and my sister's dog, Jenna's dog, Pilot, and one other friend's dog. But that's it, really. And so I have no idea how she's going to be. So we figured if we went early, nobody's going at 5:30 in the morning to a dog park on a Sunday. Man, were we wrong. There was like 20 people there at 5:30 in the morning. Tons of dogs. And we walked in and Mark immediately let Henry off the leash. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to see how this goes. And he was like, immediately just ran up to the biggest group of dogs that was in there. Was like saying hi to everybody, and then they're taking off running, and he just joined the pack immediately. He was great. Indiana, I was nervous, so I kept her leash on for a minute, and that was the worst thing that I could have done, because then all these dogs are coming up to her and smelling her and like wanting to play with her, but she's feeling trapped because I have her on the leash, so she's trying to like nip at them. And Mark was like, just let her off the leash. Okay. And the second I let her off the leash, she was totally fine. Like even with the dog that she was kind of nipping at because he wanted to play so bad, this beautiful pit bull, she was totally fine. And it was interesting because I thought she loves to play, and she plays rough because she learned to play from Henry. And so I thought she was going to really get into playing with some of these dogs, or like really be running back and forth. This dog park is huge. But she was just kind of like a sidelines dog. She kind of just I'm sorry, my brain just looked and saw that this is 16 minutes of me telling you about taking the dogs to the dog park, which may be the most boring podcast ever. So I don't know why I thought this was a good idea to record. It was more just to, I'll just keep going. Anyways, she kind of she kind of like ran alongside the pack of dogs, but on the outskirts. She never really got too involved. Whereas Henry just like puts himself right in the middle of everything. And he gets really excited and barks, which of course I'm then thinking, oh my God, this is going to be, somebody's going to think he's being mean or aggressive. But I forgot, we're in a dog park. These are dog people. And so when he was kind of barking at this one dog, I must have looked worried because one of the women standing around looked at me and said like, oh, it's okay. He's just vocal. And I was like, that's exactly right. He is just vocal. It was a big success. They had a lot of fun. So I think we're going to try and take them every weekend so that Indiana can get socialized more and Henry can just live out his best happy days of life. But it was funny because when we're standing around and just watching like everyone else. And a lot of people there must be regulars because they all seem to know each other. And so Mark and I were kind of standing around, chit chat with somebody here or there. But then I was like, it would be so, we naturally just found ourselves being like, look at that dog. That dog's probably like, oh my God, who's this? And we were like giving voices to all of the different dogs there. And I said, why isn't there a show or I'm sure there is. I haven't looked, but like a YouTube or something that is literally footage of real dogs at a dog park. And then you have like comedians or something write the dialogue. Like you have them write dialogue to go with these dogs and what they're thinking. And it like pops up by each dog. And each dog has like a personality. I feel like I don't need to over explain this one. There's some show or something. We're on the show. there were 2 writers who were writing dialogue for like squirrels or something. I know somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about. Anyways, that was our dog park. The rest of the day was very, very lazy. And then, so then Monday, woke up. I was like, we're gonna do a bonus episode. Maybe we'll even record the actual episode. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be so ahead of everything this week. And I woke up. I was like, I'm gonna run to the store. Mark was sleeping. And I walk outside. And I notice, like, I'm walking from my front door to my car. I have a carport. And there's a sidewalk that goes from my front door to the carport. And I notice like a bunch of feathers, bird feathers. Okay, it's okay. I have a bunch of bird feeders out here. Yeah, there's going to be feathers. No. Then, of course, I notice blood. And then other things that I immediately looked away from because I didn't know what it was. There was not a bird, but there was parts of a bird. And then I looked at the side of my house right there, and there's what looks like a blood stain to me. So in my head, a bird flew into the house, fell. I can't even think about it. I hope he died instantly because otherwise it makes me so sad. And then maybe some animal in the night came along and ate him or something. I don't know. But in the moment, it made me so sad. I immediately started crying and went inside. I was like, Mark, you have to clean up the sidewalk. And I don't want to walk by it again. He said, okay, well, go out the side door. Because I also have a side door that goes directly into the carport. It's actually right here in this office that I'm sitting in. I just never use it. I just keep it locked all the time. I was like, okay. So I'm like sniffling like a big baby and go out the side door into the carport. And an envelope like flutters down. I pick it up. I'm like, great. I don't know what this is, but I probably don't like it. Who leaves an envelope in this side carport door? Apparently my landlord, because it was a notice of rent increasing. I've lived here for almost 3 years in this place, and I love it. I got really lucky. Rental prices are look, I live in Tucson, obviously. So compared to, I'm sure, where many people live, Seattle, LA, wherever, yes, rent is probably much less than in other places. But to me, rent is expensive here. So my little house / casita was $1,700 a month rent. And now it's gone up $100. In retrospect, as I'm saying this story, I'm thinking in my head, like, all right, you were a little bit dramatically upset about this on Monday because now it's not the end of the world. A bird died and my rent went up. Ugh. Much worse things could be happening. But in that moment on Monday, it felt very dramatic. I was like, birds are committing suicide against my house and my rent went up and I just can't handle this right now. And so around 1 p.m., I made a little cranberry vodka drink. I thought which is really never my, if I'm upset about something, drinking is never something that I like to do because I feel like that just exacerbates my emotions. But for whatever reason, that's what I chose to do. Mark gave me a slightly judgmental look, but he was okay with it. And then we went out and did errands, and I had a little we went to Costco, or Costco was closed actually. So we went to Sam's Club, and I had like a to-go cup with my little mixed drink in it. And I think I forgot that there was alcohol in it because I was just chugging along all day with it. And by afternoon, I was not sober. Needless to say, we did not get to any types of recordings. And then Tuesday, I thought, I wanted to just dig my own grave and jump in. I thought I was dying. So there's my full transparency, complete honesty as to why we didn't record the episode that I have written for this week. And then by now, today, Wednesday, it just feels like, well, I've already missed it. I missed Monday. I missed Tuesday. So it was a holiday week. We're going to take the week off, which I'm going to put this out because now I've talked for 25 minutes about nothing that anybody cares about. However, I'm going to put this out at least. Something else happened today with daddy issues. And I want to talk about that, but not in such a public forum. So I'm going to put that on just Patreon. And I know that maybe seems weird. Does that seem weird? Because it's not like it's private, but I do. I know the people on Patreon a little bit more, and it's not public for anyone to listen to. And sometimes with stuff it's not secret. It's not like super private. I mean, let's be honest. If you're new here and you missed out on the stellar breakup episodes, well, damn it. As I'm talking, okay, if you are listening, because now I cannot remember off the top of my head, I spoke to somebody, they gave me their email. Oh, I remember. I think I remember who now because I remember the email address. And I recorded, I don't know, a month ago, like a bonus episode about how Mark and I got back together. And I just put it on Patreon because it felt like a couple people had asked, but it felt silly to put that up. But like, hey, nobody cares. I already like aired all my dirty laundry and just sat on the microphone and like sobbed and cried when Mark broke up with me. So that's for new listeners, for people who weren't here back in December or January. Mark broke up with me on New Year's Eve. And for the next several weeks, I decided to podcast about it in a deep depression, and since have taken those episodes down publicly because, for multiple reasons. And so this is such a long-winded way of saying that it's not that I'm uncomfortable putting private things out there publicly. I'm not. I have obviously put a lot of private things out there, but I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything. So until it's like done, it doesn't feel like, feels like a Patreon thing. Because it does help. I'm so selfish. I was going to say, it does help me to talk through some of this stuff. It does. But that sounds really selfish. Like I'm using this as my own personal therapy / journal, which sometimes I am.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Anyways. Was there more to this story? Did I just take 29 minutes to tell you about my weekend, which involved the dog park and getting drunk? Yes, I did. This happened. Well, no one claimed this was going to be the best episode ever, but I feel a responsibility, and like people who listen regularly are owed an explanation when the podcast doesn't come out as planned, which has happened way too many times over the past. It's going to be 2 years this December since we started. That's nuts. You'd think we could be a little bit more consistent with it. But you know what? Life is inconsistent and always changing and up and down. And I think that this podcast reflects that. At least that's what I tell myself. I had a bunch of other things written down. Let's see. Oh, gosh, I've had some great communications with people on Instagram, but I don't have any of that in front of me. So I'm not going to share any of that right now. Is that boring for you guys? Like, would you rather I just say, hey, thanks to this person, this blah, 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 for, sending such great emails, instead of like reading or sharing those things? I don't know. I'm trying to think. When I've listened to podcasts and they share reviews or emails they get, yeah, I guess I don't always love it. It's a little boring sometimes. Maybe I'll avoid doing that from now on. Yeah. So the work thing, well, it's not really work, but the kind of is the daddy issues thing. I'm going to save that and talk about that on Patreon. I was going to have also a conversation. I think I mentioned this to Micah. I think I mentioned this on Patreon, that I've been having such Nope, I'm going to say the word wrong and it's going to annoy me. I've been having such what's the word? Invasive thoughts? I can't think of the word, but like when you can't stop thinking about something as much as you really want to. And it's death and life. Sorry. I'm just laughing because that's like so broad. Yeah, just really contemplating and some days panicking about, am I wasting my life? This is the only life I have, and then it's just over, and just how fragile it is, and that it can be taken away at any moment. And look at how much time I waste. Like, shouldn't we be, or when I say we, I'm talking about me basically, or the collective general we, shouldn't I be like just making the most of every single moment? And why am I wasting time being stressed out or sad or mad or anxious? Because none of it fucking matters. It will all not matter at whatever point this life ends for me. And then, this, I probably haven't talked about this because then this gets into a religious or religious adjacent conversation that I'm unprepared to have because I don't know my exact thoughts on all of that. I'm not a religious person, as I've said. But, and I've probably said this, but I wish I didn't, but I do tend to believe that when you die, you die. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no, afterlife. I'm not floating around as a ghost. I'm not reincarnated as a cat. I wish that were true. And obviously I don't know. So maybe it is. I wish that I believed it more wholeheartedly, I suppose. But if I'm being really, really honest with myself, I tend to not believe that. And I think that life is life and then it's over. And I think it often is so random and unfair, and there's no good explanation or reason why some people die young or die tragically, or, it just is. And so keeping that in mind, I have lately just really had these like penetrating thoughts that continue to pop up at the most inopportune moments about what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And am I going to regret things? That's probably one of my biggest fears is continuing to get older, which I know is a gift and a luxury to be able to grow old. But I am so fearful of having regrets and not doing things or trying things that I always wanted to do or dreamt of doing or accomplishing. And then within that same thought, then my mind starts thinking, well, that's okay if you don't do all the things or accomplish all the things. Life is so, like, your life, meaning me when I'm talking to myself, which now people are going to listen to this podcast and be like, oh, she is crazy. But when I'm having a conversation with myself, I think your life is so small. You are one of billions and billions of people. I mean, I heard a statistic the other day that 358,000 humans are born on Earth every day. And I don't know why, but that blew my mind. Now, I don't remember how many people die every day. I know I've recently looked that up. But, oh my gosh, I'm so insignificant. And everything I'm doing is so insignificant. And I don't mean that in a sad or like, oh, boo-hoo way. I just, like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And so shouldn't I just be enjoying my life, my days with the, people I love and care about, and trying to just be kind and positive and all those things? I don't know. I like go flip-flop through all of these different perspectives on all of this. Getting older, living, dying. I can cycle through 5 different perspectives and takes on all of this whole type of conversation within like a 30-minute period in my head. And it's exhausting. And I can only imagine that, well, first of all, am I alone in this? Is anyone else out there similarly? I feel like I know there's obviously an age range of people who listen to this, but I'm doubting like a ton of like 18, 20-year-olds are listening to this. I kind of always imagine it's a lot of people similar to my age, like either slightly younger or, up into their, I don't know, because I feel like 60 is the new 30 nowadays. So I don't know. Anyways, I imagine a lot of listeners are probably similar in age to me, which is 40-ish. And yeah, does it have to do with being kind of midlife? Obviously I understand what a midlife crisis is. I don't think I'm having a midlife crisis. I think I had a midlife crisis at like 25 and then again at 30 and then again at 35. I'm always having some type of life crisis, I think, periodically. So I don't think it's that, but I do find myself being preoccupied with feeling guilty that I'm wasting time, that I'm not making the most of my time here, being worried that I'm gonna, get breast cancer in a year and will have just wasted so much of my time. And I don't know why, because what should I be doing? I asked myself, like, what do you want to be doing? Well, I don't know. I want to be writing a book. I want to be, accomplishing more of the things that I want to do, but also I'm tired. So, yeah. And then, of course, I definitely questioned the having kids thing, which is probably too long of a conversation to get in now. But I felt very secure in my decision to not have children after my mom died. Like something just switched off in me because I wanted to have kids my whole life. I planned on it. I wanted it. I love kids. Wanted a really big family. And then I realized, well, a big part of that is who you're going to make that family with. And I was not with the correct person, or the correct person for me to do that with for a long time. But for a long time, I convinced myself that I was, and it would be okay, and it would work out, and tried to get pregnant for a while before my mom died. And then after she died, I don't know, I can't explain it. Something just, aside from the fact that my marriage ended within 6 months of my mom dying, in that same time frame, just something shifted, and I didn't want to have kids, at least at that point. And sorry guys, I'm trying to get this little tidbit out and keep my composure. My mom, most of growing up, told me, don't have kids, live your life. And again, apologies if I've already shared all of this. I probably have. Live your life, focus on you. Don't have kids until you're totally sure, and until later in life. And that she was real big on that. And then when she got sick, and she was sick for a couple of years, that changed. And she suddenly really wanted to be a grandmother and really wanted myself or Jenna to have kids. And I really wanted to do that for her before she died. Thankfully, it didn't happen, and it's a good thing. That's a positive thing that it didn't. But after she died, we were cleaning out her half of the closet for my dad, and she had left each of us like a bag filled with baby clothes, brand new baby clothes with the tags on and everything, little shoes and hats and booties and onesies and all kinds of stuff, so that if we did have kids, they would have something from her. And sorry guys, this one gets me every time. And I still have it, of course. I don't know what to do with it, to be honest. It feels silly to hold on to, and also I definitely could not give it away unless I had, and my closest friends already have kids who are not infants. I don't know anybody else who's still going to have children that I'm close enough with that I would give, share something like that. So I just have it. Don't know what to do with them, but where the hell was I going with this? I feel like this podcast could be a study into the brain and how my brain works. So I
I don't know. I know this was somehow related to my like questioning life and death and everything now, and that I find myself a little bit more, okay, I know where I was going. So after my mom died, it was hard finding those clothes when we cleaned out her closet. But like I said, something shifted. I didn't want to have kids, and then my marriage ended. And so then I really didn't want to have kids. And that feeling has pretty much remained. I have not questioned that feeling until maybe recently. And that is likely because, well, I think that's partially because I'm nearing, if not already at the point where that won't be an option soon. And I don't want to regret that. But also when I actually think about, not just the through rose-colored glasses having kids, the cute baby clothes and all the like fun parts of it that, like run through my head like a fake Hallmark movie when I think about it. I try to really seriously think about the poopy diapers and the sleepless nights and the fact that I'm bringing another human into this very, very crazy, somewhat unhinged world right now. And that I am selfish. I'm selfish because realistically all I've ever had to think about is myself. Sure, my friends, my family, my animals, things like that. But if you're getting real cut and dry with it, ultimately just me. And so then I stand by. I think I do feel solid in that. No, I don't want to have kids. But it's still, well, I've also met somebody now that, whoa, we're getting into deep territory here. Met somebody that if he wanted to have kids, then it would be a real question for me. He does not. So that makes it easier for me to then think, well, I don't really either. I feel like I'm going to get myself tripped up here. Anyways, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I still generally settle on a no, I don't want kids. But I think the fact that won't even be an option for me soon or in the, not too distant future is a little bit scary. And just really plays into the I'm going to die. Like I'm going to die at some point. Don't know when. Am I living a life that I like and want and am proud of and won't regret? And I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. I'm tending towards not totally. I mean, definitely not totally. But it's open. I'm going to leave that open. Well, that was an abrupt ending to that conversation, but I feel like I need to have maybe it a little bit more well thought out. And that's also feels like a conversation to have with another person rather than just myself. I don't know. But we've managed to go from dog parks and drinking to having kids and dying. So you never know where this is going to go. And this is a true crime podcast, so it's just really ridiculous. This was not where I expected this little conversation with myself to go today, but here we are. So I think I will end it here. This will be the public one for Patreon. I will keep going in a moment, maybe. And I will apologize. I think it's okay. I know many people tell me you apologize too much. It's annoying. Stop it.
But I'm going to apologize because there really is no good reason why I didn't just buckle down and record the episode. I don't think it's fair to say that birds committing suicide against my house and a rent raising, that's really a weak reason. But it's my reason, so I apologize. And if you're still listening to this, you really get me. And thank you. And what else? I think that's it. So write me. Leave me a voicemail. Send me an email or a DM. But email is, like if I get behind on Instagram, I just avoid the app entirely and like won't even look at it or open anything. Whereas email, I don't really get that many emails to the Death by Southwest email. So that's an easier one for me. But I'd love to know what other people think. Is anybody else having these kind of thoughts? Anybody? Oh, one more thing. That husky I posted about, she found him a home. She rehomed him. I meant to post about that, but like I obviously said, the weekend got away from me. Okay. I probably should listen to these before I publish them, but I'm not going to. So thanks for listening and sticking with me and my ups and downs and crazy thoughts. And I love you all. Would love to hear from you if anyone else has any thoughts on all of the random things that I discussed today. And talk soon. Okay. Bye, guys.